She ghosted me after I paid her entire student loan debt. I texted, hope it was worth it. Then I filed a perfectly legal civil suit for the full amount with a gift letter she signed. Now she is begging to reconcile. I-31 male, I'm a planner. I plan my finances, my career, my vacations. I thought I had planned my life with Jessica, 29. We were together for 4 years. It felt solid. We talked about marriage, kids, the whole 9 yards. Her biggest source of stress was her crippling student loan debt from her master's in fine arts. A little over $78,000. It was an anchor holding her back from her dream of opening her own small art gallery. I'm a software engineer. I make good money, and I'm a saver. After my last big project, I got a substantial bonus. We'd been talking about her debt for years, how it felt like this insurmountable wall. I saw a way to tear it down for her. For us. So I did it. I paid the whole thing off. The exact amount was $78,432.07. I'll never forget the look on her face when I showed her the paid-in-full confirmation. Tears, hugs, promises of forever. It felt like the start of our real future. My friend Joseph, who's a lawyer, is a cynic by trade. When I told him my plan, he advised me to protect myself. He drafted a 1-page gift letter. He said, look, 99% chance this is just a piece of paper you'll laugh about at your wedding. But for a sum this large, you need a CYA document. He drafted it to state that the sum was a gift given in contemplation of our shared future and continued partnership toward marriage. The key clause: if she terminated the relationship without cause within 2 years, the gift would be reclassified as a personal loan due in full. I framed it to her as a romantic formality, a way to make this huge moment feel official. It's our love contract, I joked. She rolled her eyes, but she read it. She's smart. She knew what it said. She signed it, we laughed, and we put it in a file with our other important documents. That was 2 months ago. About 3 weeks ago, the slow fade began. I'm busy, just tired, need some space. Then complete radio silence. Her social media went private. I went to our apartment, the one I pay 80% of the rent for, and her things were gone. All of them. She left nothing behind but an empty closet and a key on the kitchen counter. I was numb for a week. The hurt was immense. But the longer the silence stretched, the more the hurt began to crystallize into something cold and hard. This wasn't just heartbreak, it was a premeditated act. She had waited until the money was paid, and then she had vanished. Last night, I found the signed letter in the file. I sent a single text to her number, the first I'd sent in 2 weeks. Hope it was worth it. This morning, I met with Joseph. He read the document again. This isn't a simple case, he warned me. Her lawyer will call it emotionally manipulative, a contract of adhesion unenforceable. But her actions, the timing, the ghosting, they create a powerful narrative of fraudulent inducement. It's not a slam dunk, David. It's a risk, but it's a good risk. I told him to proceed. The civil suit was filed this afternoon. For the full amount plus legal fees. I don't want her back. I want what's mine. I feel empty but also weirdly calm. I've taken the first step on what I know will be a very unpleasant and very long journey. Update 1. Things move slowly in the real world. Getting her served was the first hurdle. She was hiding out at her parents' place. After the process server finally got to her, the predictable explosion of texts and voicemails came. I ignored them all, as Joseph instructed. She showed up at my door one night. I almost didn't recognize her. The stress was visible. You can't do this, she said, her voice shaking with rage, not fear. I stood in the doorway, blocking her path. You need to speak to your lawyer, Jessica. I have. He said this is ridiculous. You can't put a condition on a gift like that. It was emotionally coercive. So that was her angle. Not that it was a joke, but that I had manipulated her into signing it. She was smarter than I'd given her credit for. She understood the document. She just never thought I'd have the spine to enforce it. It was a contract, I said, my voice flat. One you read and signed. You then took my money and disappeared. Those are the facts. I needed to get away from your controlling behavior, she shot back. This lawsuit proves it. You're trying to own me. The entitlement was breathtaking. She had calculated every step, and her only miscalculation was me. She thought I'd be a heartbroken mess who would eventually just write it off as a bad breakup. She never imagined I would become a plaintiff. You made a business decision, Jessica, I said, my voice cold. You cashed me out for a debt-free future. Well, business decisions have consequences. This is one of them. I closed the door on her sputtering rage. Joseph had already received the response from her lawyer, a motion to dismiss on the grounds I'd mentioned. He told me to settle in. The first hearing for the motion wouldn't be for another 2 months. The grind had begun. Update 2. The wheels of justice grind slowly, and they grind you down. We spent months in procedural limbo. Finally, 2 months ago, we had the hearing for her motion to dismiss. The judge, a stern-faced woman who looked like she'd heard every excuse in the book, listened to both sides. Jessica's lawyer painted me as a manipulative ex. Joseph presented the clear timeline: relationship, massive financial event, immediate ghosting. He argued it showed clear intent to defraud. The judge didn't rule immediately, taking it under advisement. For weeks, I was on edge. Last month, the ruling came down. Motion denied. The judge agreed there was enough evidence of potential fraudulent inducement to let the case proceed. It was a huge victory, but all it meant was that the real fight was just beginning. This is when her family's behavior escalated. Her brother Richard moved past vague social media posts. He left me a series of voicemails, each more aggressive than the last, calling me a psycho and a loser who can't handle being dumped. The final straw was when he showed up in the parking lot of my office building as I was leaving work. He blocked my car with his, got out, and started yelling about how I was ruining their family. I didn't engage. I locked my doors, recorded him on my phone, and called building security. It was all the evidence Joseph needed. We filed for an emergency protective order. Richard, being served with that by a sheriff's deputy, seemed to finally shut him up. With the case moving forward, Joseph went on the offensive. He told me his theory about her wanting to clear her debt for a reason. He filed a broad subpoena for her financial records and communications related to her gallery project for the 6 months prior to and following the payoff. That subpoena was the stone I'd thrown into the hornet's nest. Update 3. The subpoena kicked off a whole new war. We got back Jessica's bank records, which showed nothing but her usual spending. But her lawyer filed an aggressive motion to quash the part of the subpoena demanding her communications, specifically with a man named William Price. Bingo. Joseph's hunch had been right. William Price is a big deal in the local art scene, a wealthy gallery owner and investor. His lawyers were all over this, arguing his communications were proprietary and he was an irrelevant third party being harassed. For a moment, it looked like they might win. Jessica's side got cocky. I even got a smirking email from her lawyer suggesting I drop the case before I embarrassed myself further. We had another hearing. It felt like my life was just a series of beige conference rooms and tense waiting periods. Joseph argued that William's relationship with Jessica was the entire motive for the fraud. If she promised him she would be debt-free to secure his investment, then their communications were the most relevant evidence in the case. The judge agreed. He denied their motion to quash and gave them 14 days to produce the communications. That's when they panicked. That's when we got the call. They wanted to talk settlement. Now, final update. 18 months after initial post, it's over. The 18-month slog through legal hell has finally come to an end. The threat of having her scheming texts with William read aloud in a deposition was the kill shot. They begged for mediation. We all sat in that sterile conference room. Me and Joseph on one side, Jessica, her pale-faced parents, and her lawyer on the other. She looked hollowed out. Her father's eyes were full of a weary shame I almost felt sorry for. Almost. They tried to haggle, they offered half, they pleaded poverty. They talked about a 10-year payment plan. Joseph just listened patiently. When they were done, he slid a single sheet of paper across the table. It was the final bill, the original $78,432.07, plus the staggering legal fees that had accumulated over a year and a half of their fighting and stall tactics. The total was just shy of $100,000. "This is the number," Joseph said quietly. "You can pay it, or we can read Mr. Price's text messages next Tuesday at Jessica's deposition. Your choice." Her mother let out a strangled sob. Her father looked at Jessica, a lifetime of disappointment in his gaze, and said to his lawyer, "It's over. Give him what he wants." The settlement was brutal. To pay me, her parents had to refinance their home, pulling out all their equity. Jessica had to sell her car and liquidate a small inheritance she had from her grandmother. The money was wired to my trust account last week. The consequences were total. William Price, whose lawyers had kept him informed, cut all ties with her permanently. Her reputation in the art world is non-existent. She didn't just fail to launch her dream, she ensured it could never happen here. She's back in her childhood bedroom, working at a call center. I got one last text from her a few days ago. Jessica, I have nothing left. You destroyed my life and my family over money. I thought about the 18 months of stress, the lawyer's fees, the harassment from her brother, the sheer calculated betrayal of it all. I thought about her arrogant confidence that she could get away with it. I typed back a simple reply. No, Jessica, you did this to you. Then I blocked her number, and her family's, and her lawyers. It doesn't feel like a triumphant victory. It feels like surviving a shipwreck. I'm scarred, I'm warier. That easy trust I once had is gone, probably forever. But it does feel like justice. The books are balanced. I'm moving next month to a new city for a new job I'm actually excited about. A complete fresh start. I didn't get revenge, I simply enforced a consequence. She built her own prison, and I just locked the door behind her.